This is DJ Johnny at JDMFM, and today I'm back doing my history of Warrington. This time I'm going to cover the small village of Latchford, which is on the south side of the River Mersey. Well, I thought it was a small village. In fact, the whole area is huge. So big that I'm going to have to do these videos in a series of little walks. I'm going to start at Bridgefoot, where Latchford begins, and going all the way down Knutsford Road, a little bit round Wilderspool Causeway, going on towards Westy and Latchford Locks and that sort of area. So let's go and have a look at what Latchford looks like. So you can see from those very short video clips how massive Latchford really is. Because of that, I'm going to do a series of walks, as I said, but this first video I'm going to concentrate on this particular area around Victoria Park, because this is where I believe Warrington first became a place to live. This place here used to be awash with water. The River Mersey used to flow right the way round Victoria Park, and it was also a fording place, a place where people could cross the river without a bridge. They could walk across it. It was shallow enough because it was so wide and across. Now, because of that, the name Latchford comes from ford at a boggy place. Well, this was a boggy place. The whole of Warrington, the whole area was a boggy place, except for here at Latchford, where the land was a harder material and therefore people could cross the river quite easily. And that's what this story is going to be all about the River Mersey and the fords and how they crossed it. I'm also going to concentrate a little bit on Howley as well, which is just on the other side of the river and linked so closely to Latchford with the Mersey that it seemed important that I need to include that as well. So a little bit of Howley, but mainly around Victoria Park. Let's go and have a look at it. And this is Howling Lock. It's not working anymore. It's ancient. It was built in the 1700s as part of the Mersey and Irwell Navigation Company when they made the River Mersey and the River Irwell navigable all the way from Liverpool to Manchester. And I've spoken about that on numerous other occasions on my videos. Well, this lock was put in at the time when they converted the whole of the river, and they made it so that boats or barges could come along the lock and all the way up towards the upper reaches of the Mersey, continuing its way towards Manchester. Before the lock was put in and the Weir, the River Mersey used to swell all the way around, right the way around Victoria Park, right in that distance all the way around, and that is where one of the famous fords used to be, which we're going to talk about shortly. And this is what used to be called the hellhole. What's the hellhole? Well, I'm actually at the Weir at Latchford. You can see Victoria Park is just behind me, and we've got Howley on the other side. The lock, the Howling Lock, is just on the other side behind the trees, on the other side of the Weir. The water, the River Mersey, used to meander all the way through from Manchester, going through, and then it used to go to a loop around Victoria Park and then come back on itself here. This was a very notorious bend in the river, and still is quite notorious if you look at the way it swoops round, right the way around there. Very, very deep water, a notorious place, and it was called the hellhole because it was so deep. Very, very holy, and that's what the name came from, and that's where the name Howley came from. Holy, Howley, that's where that was from. The point is that this was all reconstructed when the Mersey and Irwell navigation system was changed and altered the course of the Mersey completely. So all that big loop was taken out, and it was literally short-circuited through here instead, as you can see it today. So I'm just on the bank of the River Mersey. You can see in the distance St Elphin's Church, Warrington Parish Church, which is on the Howley side of the river. And I'm on the Latchford side of the river with Victoria Park just behind me. Now this is a really interesting point, because it's thought that many, many years ago, thousands of years ago even, that this used to be a fording point where people could literally walk or go on horses across the river, because it was shallow enough. There didn't used to be banks on the river. The river was free flowing and able to meander around wherever it wanted in the fields. And because of that, because of the land, the lay of the land, it was quite shallow as well. And it meant it was shallow enough so people could get across in that respect. Also, the land in this area was quite hard, and it meant that the riverbed was a hard surface to cross over. It wasn't mud like it is everywhere else. So because of that, it meant that this was a possible location for a ford. But the other interesting thing is the distance. You can see the church, and just next to the church was the location of the old Warrington town. Amazing. And this is Victoria Park. It's the jewel in the crown of Warrington, I've got to say. It's a huge, huge, beautiful park in Latchford, and there's all sorts of activities. There's football, there's rugby, there's a skate park over there, there's a running track around here behind me, a whole host of new facilities for the people of Warrington. But before that, Warrington Borough Council bought this whole land in 1897 so they can convert it into the parkland that is so needed in Warrington. Before that though, the water from the Mersey used to wash its way all the way round, and it used to get narrower at the far end over there and came back round here on itself and came back to where Howling Lock, which we saw earlier on, used to be. And that in that far corner is where another ford used to be, which we're going to have a look in a minute. The location where I am now is probably where the River Mersey was at its narrowest for many, many years. And this is where it is said that there was a ford going across here. And this is the John Henry Newman Church, Catholic Church behind me, which replaced St Augustine's Church in Latchford and also Our Lady's Church as well. This is a new church to serve the parishes of those two smaller areas. But the interesting thing about this place is it used to be called Brook Place, and you can see on the map where this route here, there used to be a pub called the Brook Inn, which makes sense there, the Brook Place, and down along there, that is the route where the ancients used to go down towards the River Mersey and the ford to cross it. So you can imagine the Roman soldiers and their on the horses, splish, splash, 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 as they meandered across to get across the River Mersey, which is the only place to get across the River Mersey for miles and miles around. And that's the reason why Warrington became Warrington, because the people were able to cross the Mersey at this point. And this in Victoria Park. Victoria Park is round, all around me here. These are the playing fields over here, Victoria Park. This is called, or used to be called, the Old Warps. Why was it called the Old Warps? Well, it's associated with the river and the roots of the river and the names of the sort of the eyes or the colours around the river where the river used to be. But this, they don't know how old this building is. Ancient, but we don't know how old it is. We don't know real records of the date it was built. And it's been a stately home, or a home for people in the early days. And then more recently, it's been a maternity home where quite a lot of people who's alive today could very well have been born here in this Victoria Park maternity home. And now it's the Spirit Restaurant, a lovely venue for weddings and all sorts of other delightful activities. And this behind me is the Howley suspension bridge, which was built in 1912. The bridge actually links Latchford over that side, which is Victoria Park, to Howley, which is on this side. It's a beautiful structure and it's one of the only links across the bridge in this area. So it's really very well used and a lovely, lovely bridge to look at. Amazing. So that's the end of my first video on Latchford, where we looked at why Warrington first became a place to live. And it was all down to the River Mersey, which used to swill its way around here, and people used to be able to cross it at the ford or fords those thousands of years ago. We looked at the River Mersey and how it was made navigable in the 1700s. We looked at the Howling Lock and also the Weir. We looked at the notorious hellhole, that place in the river which was so dangerous for early sailors. And we looked at the Old Warps, that beautiful, beautiful building on the other side of the park. We also saw that suspension bridge, that gorgeous suspension bridge which crosses the River Mersey from Latchford to Howley. And finally, we've looked at the park itself, Victoria Park, as it is today, and the amazing facilities that are available for the people of Warrington. There's going to be a number more videos in this series, so just watch this space over the next few weeks, where I journey my way from Bridgefoot all the way through to Latchford, and I hope you enjoy them too. But meanwhile, whatever you're doing, hope you have a fabulous time, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye.